My name is Danielle. I'm 36, and that morning the light coming through the kitchen window felt fragile, thin streaks across the table that made everything seem more delicate than it really was. I had scribbled 3 words on a torn slip of paper: bread, detergent, bank. Ordinary enough, except the last one carried a weight the others didn't. I stared at it twice, as if repetition could loosen the knot in my chest. The knock came earlier than expected. When I opened the door, my father, Gerald, stood there with that practiced grin, wide-eyed, disarming, the one he always used when he wanted to make something appear harmless. He carried nothing in his hands. No groceries. No newspaper. Just that smile, and a restless energy that pushed past me into the room. Elaine trailed behind, a slim leather folder clutched tight to her chest, like armor. "Danielle," my father said brightly, already stepping inside. "Caught you before your errands, perfect timing." His tone was brisk, friendly on the surface, but I heard the edge underneath. Elaine's gaze swept over the cluttered counter, the mail stacked by the sink, my half-drunk tea. "A good day to get things sorted," she added softly, though her grip on the folder betrayed tension. I folded the list, tucked it into my pocket. My heartbeat picked up, but I kept my face calm. Routine, I told myself. Pretend it's just another morning. I walked to the cupboard for my sweater, buying a moment. In the bedroom, my fingers brushed against the envelope I'd hidden days earlier. I slid it into my purse before rejoining them. By then, my father already had his hand on my car keys. He set the folder on the table with a pointed tap of his fingers. "Nothing complicated," he said. "Just a few signatures to simplify things. Stops the bank from bothering you. You'll thank me later." Elaine pulled out a chair, sitting close. The folder rested between us. Her perfume hung in the air, sharp and sweet. She touched my elbow lightly, then pressed harder until the bone ached. She didn't look at me. Only at him. I forced a smile, though my chest tightened. I knew these tactics. I'd seen them after my mother's funeral, my father handling bills I was capable of managing, talking to bankers on my behalf while I stood mute beside him. Back then, I convinced myself he was protecting me. But now, it felt the same. Heavy. Pressing. "I'll need a minute before we go," I said, pushing back from the table. Elaine's hand fell away, leaving a dull throb on my arm. My father's smile stayed fixed, but his eyes followed me down the hallway. In my room, I opened the nightstand drawer. Beneath folded scarves lay the envelope. Plain, sealed, my handwriting across the front, 4 words. My breath steadied as I slipped it into my purse beside my wallet and ID. The plan was small, but it was mine. When I returned, he was already at the door, gingling my car keys like they belonged to him. "I'll drive," he announced, swinging the door open. Outside, the air was crisp. I slid into the back seat, purse clutched tight. Elaine claimed the front, folder never leaving her hands. As he drove, my father filled the silence with cheerful chatter, sales at the hardware store, the weather turning early. The same neighborly tone he used to cover commands. I watched porches and flower beds blur past until the bank appeared up ahead. Elaine shifted, flipping the folder open on her lap so I could see. "These are the forms," she said lightly. Her manicured finger traced a line. "Initial here, it just means they can speak to me if needed." At the top, the words stared back at me in bold, power of attorney. The air thickened. I said nothing. Just looked away. In the rearview mirror, my father caught my eyes. "You always said family takes care of each other," he murmured. His tone was soft, but the words pressed down like stone. Moments later, he steered us into the bank's lot. Half full, weekday bustle. He parked close, rushed to open my door with exaggerated care. "Careful," he said gently, as though guiding porcelain, not steering me into compliance. Inside, the lobby smelled faintly of coffee and polish. People moved quietly between counters. A young teller glanced up, her name tag read Maya. Her smile faltered when her eyes lingered on the faint bruise along my arm, Elaine's doing. For a second, I felt seen, before her expression smoothed back into neutrality. We sat at a low table. My father placed the folder before me, slid a pen into my hand. His smile vanished. Just sign, Danielle. Routine. Don't make this harder than it is. Elaine leaned close again, her perfume stifling, her grip sharp. She whispered, one signature. Done. Don't fight it. The pen was heavy in my hand. But nights of rehearsing filled my mind, the envelope in my purse, the plan I'd promised myself I wouldn't abandon. I lifted my gaze, breathing slow, counting silently to 5. Across the lobby, the branch manager appeared. Julia Brooks. Calm authority in her navy jacket, smile warm but deliberate. Why don't we take this to my office, she suggested. My father leapt to agree. Elaine rose too, folder tight under her arm. We followed. As Julia passed the counter, she told Maya, bring me a water in a few minutes. Her glance, quick and subtle, carried more meaning than her words. Maya nodded, barely perceptible. Inside the office, my father positioned me in a chair, pressing the pen into my hand again. Go ahead, he coaxed. It's routine. Elaine closed in on the other side, hand back on my arm. Julia sat opposite. Let me make copies for our records, she said, reaching for the folder. My father hesitated, then surrendered it. While Julia gathered the documents, I reached into my purse. My fingers brushed the smooth envelope, edges softened from my rehearsals. I slid it out, tucked beneath my ID and deposit slip, blending into the stack. Here are my documents, I said evenly, handing them over. Julia accepted them without pause. For the briefest moment, her eyes met mine. Silent understanding. She rose, folder in hand, and left with measured steps. My father leaned in, whispering, almost done now. But I kept my focus on the door Julia had closed, waiting, steady, as the plan I had carried in secret finally began to unfold. The folder lay open, equal parts invitation and trap. My father nudged the pen toward me once more. It's routine, Danielle. You're making this harder than it needs to be. Elaine leaned closer, her hand curling around my arm, nails pressing until the skin paled. Don't drag this out, she murmured. Just sign. Her perfume hung thick and sharp, making the air feel unbreathable. Julia, calm as ever, pulled up a chair at the corner of the table. She didn't touch the pen or even glance at the documents. Instead, her voice was light, almost casual. Before we move forward, I'll need to copy everyone's IDs. Standard policy whenever we review documents. Her eyes held mine. Miss Henley, may I see yours? I drew a steady breath, reaching into my purse. My wallet came out first, then my license. I placed it on the table, set my deposit slip on top, an ordinary gesture. Last came the plain envelope, slid carefully beneath them, exactly as I'd practiced during countless sleepless nights. Here are my documents, I said evenly. My father relaxed, convinced I'd given in. Elaine's grip softened, though her hand lingered on my arm. Julia collected the small stack without hesitation. For the briefest moment, her gaze brushed mine. No change in her expression, but I felt the acknowledgement. Then she turned and slipped into the hall. The low hum of the copier started seconds later. My father exhaled, tapping the pen against the folder in smug rhythm. See? Almost finished. I kept my eyes fixed on Julia's reflection in the glass as she passed by. My pulse steadied, not in surrender, but in quiet certainty. The envelope was no longer mine alone. Julia returned, composed, with the folder and a neat pile of copies. She set them down and folded her hands. Before we continue, I'll need to confirm information with Miss Henley directly. It's part of our customer verification process. For that, I'll need a few minutes with her alone. My father gave a short, dismissive laugh. She's hard of hearing sometimes. I'll walk her through it. Julia didn't blink. This part is mandatory. I'll bring you back in shortly. Her tone was calm, but her eyes left no room for debate. Elaine squeezed my arm one last time before pulling back. We'll wait outside, she chirped, though her glance cut sharp as glass. When the door shut behind them, the office felt different, quiet, safe. Julia leaned forward, her voice softened. Danielle, I read your note. My chest tightened, but I held her gaze. I'm going to ask you 3 things, she continued steadily. You can answer yes, no, or explain if you'd like. First, are you being pressured to sign papers you don't want to? Yes, I whispered. Second, do you understand that these forms would hand over control of your home and your finances to your father and stepmother? Yes. Third, do you feel safe at home when they visit you? I looked down at my hands, my thumbnail catching the light. No. Julia nodded once. No surprise in her expression, only resolve. She picked up the phone and dialed quickly. Her words were clipped, exact. This is River Street branch. We have a vulnerable customer under duress. Possible fraudulent power of attorney. Initiating hold, requesting compliance review, and notifying Portland PD. She set the phone down and met my eyes. You did the right thing. Footsteps echoed outside the door. My father and Elaine waited, unaware. Julia called them back in. They re-entered with practiced calm, my father heavy in his chair, Elaine smoothing her skirt like nothing was amiss. Julia placed a recorder on the table, pressing a button. For accuracy, we record document reviews. It protects everyone. My father forced a laugh. Fine. Danielle knows we're just simplifying things. He slid the folder toward Julia. She opened it, scanning carefully. Her gaze lingered on a notary stamp that bled unevenly into the page. And who prepared these, she asked. Mobile notary, Elaine answered quickly. Perfectly standard. Julia nodded as if noting it, but I saw the flicker in her eyes. This seal number doesn't match our records. Compliance will confirm shortly. My father's jaw tightened. It's valid. We wouldn't waste time otherwise. His voice cut sharper now, rising with frustration. Elaine touched his arm, her smile stretched thin. Gerald, let her check. No harm in that. Her tone was smooth, but her trembling hand betrayed her. From the corner of my eye, I noticed the guard shift near the entrance. A faint click sounded, doors locking, subtle but final. Julia continued, steady as ever. Before we move further, Danielle needs to state in her own words what these documents mean. I felt my father's stare heavy against my skin. Elaine's perfume pressed close. My throat ached, but my voice didn't falter. These papers would give them control of my money and my house. Julia inclined her head, recording the words. Through the glass, sirens threaded faintly through Portland streets, rising closer. My father's pen tapped against the table, a nervous beat he couldn't disguise. The sirens cut off outside. Moments later, 2 officers entered, Ramirez and Shin. Their presence filled the space with quiet authority. Ramirez sat near me, voice gentle. Ma'am, are you okay? I nodded, lifting my sleeve to reveal the fading bruise. Elaine grabbed me, I said. Quiet, but enough. The recorder caught every word. Elaine's mouth pressed tight, silent. My father scoffed. She bruises easy. This is all blown out of proportion. I ignored him, unclipping the tie pin at my collar. This records, I explained, placing it on the table. It's been on since we left my house. Julia accepted it, setting it beside the folder. Her desk phone rang, compliance on the line. She listened carefully, then spoke. Understood. Turning to the officers, she added, "The notary listed doesn't exist. The forms are forged." My father's face went pale green with rage. "That's absurd," he snapped. Julia ignored him, pulling out another folder. "There's more. 3 weeks ago, Danielle executed a living trust. Her assets, including her home, are secured inside it. She and her brother Daniel serve as co-trustees." The words landed heavy. My father stared at me as though I'd spoken in another tongue. "You went behind my back." "I did it to protect myself," I replied. My voice steady now, no tremor left. Silence pressed in, broken only by the hum of the white noise machine. Then Ramirez and Chin rose, asking my father and Elaine to do the same. My father sputtered about family business. Elaine demanded a lawyer. Neither argument slowed their escort to the lobby, their voices trailing until the door clicked shut. Julia stacked the papers neatly and slid them aside. "We'll preserve everything for the investigation," she said calmly. I thanked her softly, words inadequate for the weight they carried. Outside, the afternoon sun felt brighter than before. Daniel waited in his truck, summoned by Julia. He helped me inside without a word, his presence steady. The drive home was silent, but protective. At the house, Daniel worked with quiet determination, changing locks, installing a porch camera, checking window latches. I brewed tea, letting the whistle remind me of ordinary life. We sat at the kitchen table, the same spot where the day had begun, though everything felt altered now. I pulled out fresh paper and wrote slowly, hand no longer trembling. "Dad, I love you. I want you to seek help, but you cannot touch my money, my house, or my life. If you try again, I will call the police again." I signed my name, folded the letter, and placed it in the drawer beside the morning's list. The house was quiet, but this time, safe. My hands rested steady on the table, ready for whatever came next.